I want to go to our next player as well here, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, coming in at 10 overall. Eric, you and I very high on him. Steve, you not as much. I think with Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Eric, that really like this is kind of, I think, we're at the ceiling, right? Like, I don't know if we can get much higher than that. That said, is it time to sell high with him being seen as a first round pick, not only by us rankers, but many out there in the fantasy community as a whole?
To your latter question, probably. Look, he's being ranked as like the third or fourth receiver, not only rest of season, but week over week. And it's just really hard to sustain that type of productivity over the course of 17 games, right? So if you have someone that's willing to make a Godfather offer for you, I think you should certainly listen to it. If you don't get that Godfather offer, I think you're going to be plenty happy hanging on to JSN for the duration, right? We've obviously discussed this point ad nauseum, but he was doing it by way of insane volume through the first 3 weeks of the season. That volume has now come back to earth. His target share is all the way down to 35%, which is number 3 in the league.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see some of that wobbliness in the scatter plots, right? He found his way into the end zone in the game where he didn't have a crazy workload, right? Even in his quote unquote down games, he's still getting you 13 or so points. So I think that is very much so the making of that kind of second tier wide receiver, a dude that can go out and get you 12 to 15 pretty regularly, but also has 22 plus in his locker. And this is all happening without Sam Darnold having to set the world on fire, right? He's out there kind of managing games and is able to support this type of productivity from JSN. So I love him sitting as my wide receiver 4 and landing where he did on the consensus.
Steve, the reason I love JSN is there's just so many different ways that they're now using him in his third season in this Clint Kubiak-led offense. Number 4 in deep target share rate. Also a 40.8% first read target share. That's 8th among the position. And you start looking at some of these efficiency metrics as well. Number 1 in explosive rating. Also, you look at yards per route run. He's number 1. I mean, he has been sensational. But, Steve, you don't believe in him so much that you had him outside your top 15 rest of season redraft rankings.
Yeah, and, like, before the pitchforks and torches come out, like, just give me a second to explain everybody on the internet. When you watch that Cardinals game, it became very glaringly obvious. It became glaringly obvious that JSN is kind of the whole offense, right? So it's turned into like, if you can bracket him, you can really alter this offense in a way that is really detrimental. And he was essentially kick landing 2 yards too short from having a really bad game. And it looked worse than it ended up being. And it worried me. And I was already worried coming in that his efficiency wouldn't last because he's having to maintain being number 1 in all of these metrics that very rarely is someone number 1 across the board unless they're like a Jamar Chase level talent, which I do not believe JSN is.
I think
he's attached to Sam Darnold, right? Like there is something to that. Now, I do want to throw a word of caution that the number 1 receiver, one of the top receivers in the league last year, was in a Clint Kubiak system, and it was Rashid Shaheed. Okay, so everyone just settle down for a second. The reason
you mean through the first couple weeks of the season,
through the first couple of weeks of the season, until defenses figured it out, and all of a sudden Rashid Shaheed turned into a pumpkin. Okay, these deep ball things. This is Clint Kubiak style, right? He loves these deep balls, but once you start seeing that too high safety really being played a lot, it's going to start limiting what JSN can do. You're going to start seeing him fitting more into that possession receiver role, I think, this year going forward. You're going to see a lot more games like the Cardinals than you do against like what he did with the 49ers.
He is in that possession receiver role. He's getting these designed first look reads, right?
But a lot of them are very he is taking the top off the defense quite a bit. And he was early in the year. And that's where a lot of his mega games were coming from. Was this like
the Rashid Shaheed comp is
That's
crazy
just
behavior.
yeah.
Like,
Honestly, I mean,
even if
I'm
you're the
not
most
saying they're
bearish
on the
on
same level.
JSN
What I'm
out
saying
there,
is that we all jumped on Rashid Shaheed like, oh my god, this is the guy to
no, we
own.
did not.
And when it
I
happens,
I don't know who this we is.
when the fantasy community, when this happens, I just don't want everyone to like go and give that Godfather offer for JSN right now. Slow down.
This
Take a beat.
this is a fair point, right? Generally speaking, going and making a Godfather offer on any player is not going to end well for you. So I would echo that sentiment with Steve. And the biggest hole to poke in the entire case for JSN, from my vantage point, is he is attached to Sam Darnold, who, to his credit, has been managing games very effectively. But if I had to place a percentage likelihood on whether or not he sustains this or turns back into Sam Darnold, it's probably more likely he turns back into Sam Darnold. But all of that is to say, where we diverge is I think that JSN has the talent to at least provide a productive floor if those downside circumstances come to pass.
He could.
Yeah, I started to think about it, and when he was in college, I mean, there were times where he very much outproduced the likes of Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave sharing the field with them. And it's no surprise to me, honestly, seeing him outproduce them here in the NFL as well. Like, I think if we're drafting Ohio State wide receivers in the professional level of football, JSN is the top of that list, which is crazy when you consider we got Emeka, we got Marv, we got, Wilson. We have so many different guys, Olave. So I'm all in on JSN. Do I think maybe this is a sell high window? Sure. But am I going to do it? No way in heck. Let's go ahead and round it out here with our 12th and final player. It's Garrett Wilson. And I actually had Garrett Wilson outside my top 15. I think I'm a little worried that, hey, what happens if Justin Fields gets hurt again? What happens if, the offense starts to look cruddy as a whole? And things were good on Monday, but who knows? It is the Jets. And to me, like the targets have been great. You can't complain about the targets one bit here, but I just worry that maybe the efficiency comes down a little bit. He has had 3 touchdowns so far this season. So Steve, am I crazy right now to be doubting Garrett Wilson after just a sensational rise up rankings? He was another guy that a lot of people were taking in the 3rd, 4th round of draft sometimes, up right now, currently 13 spots from his preseason ECR.
Yeah, that's insane because we've seen what happens if Justin Fields gets hurt. Tyrod Taylor comes in and just peppers Garrett Wilson with targets. That's exactly what's going to happen. Like Garrett Wilson, I said it all offseason, and I think Eric rode with me on this one that Garrett Wilson's a monster. And when you were like, oh, Ohio State wide receivers, let's draft him. Like, I'd take Garrett Wilson over any Ohio State wide receiver in the league right now in terms of just talent alone. In terms of talent alone, this offense,
JSN, or when I take him, but
the offensive play calling on the Jets is awful, just awful, and he is still an absolute unit out there. This man can catch anything, and we are not putting enough respect on this man's name for the fact that he may be the best acrobatic catch guy in the NFL right this second. He may be the best at catching bad passes in the NFL or tough to catch passes. You need someone to go tightrope the end zone and make some stupid good play. It's Garrett Wilson. He is the best jump ball guy in the NFL right now.
Eric, this is tough for me because Garrett Wilson was another player that I was still high on, I think, compared to consensus coming into the season, because like JSN, he was getting an absurd load of projected targets coming his way. Those targets have come his way so far this season. I just don't always love being attached to an 0-4 team. I like being my best fantasy players being attached to better teams. I've played this game with the frisky Jets time and time again. It doesn't burn me, but it hardly leads to top 12 upside, I feel like.
I was with you until you made your statement about it hardly leading the top 12 upside, right? These teams that are frequently trailing and having to throw a lot tend to support wide receivers, and the Jets are one of the most consolidated pass distribution teams in all of the NFL, right?
You're right.
The thing that's crazy for me is the arguments that each of you are making for and against Garrett Wilson, respectively, are the exact opposite arguments that you're making on the other side of the coin for JSN. Like, these circumstances are so incredibly similar when you have a guy who is an elite weapon,
guess.
can be used in a variety of different ways, and is the passing game in their respective offense, tied to a signal caller, a passer that has his fair share of warts. Like, for me, the through line on both of them is opportunity and role. And for both these guys, it is otherworldly, right? Steve's point about Tyrod Taylor is really the one to underscore there. If it's not Justin Fields, it actually might be in Garrett Wilson's favor, because they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more. And Tyrod Taylor knows where his bread is buttered. So certainly with Steve over the course of the offseason, with him here now, right? I've got Wilson as my wide receiver 4.